Greetings, historians. Welcome to the first video of this channel. I am the modern historian, and today I want to talk about a game that has been occupying many hours over the past couple weeks for me. Chivalry 2. Online medieval warfare. Now, how medieval is this warfare we'll get into. I want to talk about historical accuracy of the gameplay, just focusing on the melee combat in this sense, because I'm not as personally knowledgeable on the archery side of things. I don't want to be talking to my ass. And then also, archers in this game are literally the scum of the earth, and I would never steep that low. I would never play as archer. I don't even have footage of any archery. Okay. Yeah, hey, why? Hey, stop cutting the blick. Hey.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesnej smutek, dodnielo i rano utek, niech już małżeński majstrat, do wczera żylne staje prak. Už sejmoj svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejt v jejich kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední den. Buďme se mámy a do rána slávy a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zejtra jen tu jsou nejdem, tak nalej mi hned a točí se zpět. Dneska vůbec nikdo neví, zase zítra Ježíši a není to naposled.
I've made a sincere and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I'm sorry for my crimes against humanity. Anyways, I wanted to, I'm gonna look over the tutorial and then probably have some other gameplay in the background that I've recorded over my past couple just playing sessions recently, and just kind of go over the game mechanics in attacking and defending. Just melee again, not covering archer. So we're gonna start with the tutorial here. Pick up your sword. It's a very nice Messer, Kriegsmesser. Now, we got your slash attacks, your overhead, and your stab. Now, these are perfectly fine. Obviously, they're just, your normal kind of basic attacks. Nothing wrong or crazy about them. There's your basic attacks. Comboing, like, this is all just basic kind of stuff. Like, that's what you have. I like the kind of changing it up. That's all good. Now as we move on, the one thing I want to talk about is dragging. So in this game, there's a pretty large emphasis on dragging your attacks to try to hit as many targets as possible, and then also to try to hit your opponent faster, such as that. So an issue that can come up out of dragging, if we're doing it in real life, is you're falling through way too much with your attack, and that's going to leave you open. Now in the game, this is actually a thing that you could do if you are attacking out of the distance that you could land a hit, or you miss them, because your character is swinging these really large swings and it's coming across. That leaves them very exposed to a quick counterattack or a quick punish, right? So what Meyer has is he recommends that you don't attack past a certain point. So if you're starting from like Vomtog, or right tog or left tog or something, you want to end that strike in the flug or the plow position. And so this kind of ending in a position, and it's the opposite if you're doing an underhand. You want to end in the ox form if you're doing an underhand cut. So whenever you're doing these cuts, you want to end on either ox or plow, and this creates a sort of cone of steel per se, which is just like a ever kind of way to defend and then attack simultaneously. And so with this, you don't want to go past that point, or otherwise you're out of that cone, and then that's leaving your blade out of position to defend yourself. So that's kind of my main, you know, strike per se or whatever against dragging in this game, right? As far as game mechanics, it makes sense. You're trying to hit the opponent faster. The whole idea of like, hitting them with your blade, not your eyes. So like, you're looking this way, and so the blade will go faster that way or whatever. Gameplay mechanics, I get it. It adds a bit more like a substance to the game of like players trying to figure out, okay, if I drag this attack away, they might block and they think I missed or something, or if I like go really fast, I might get them before they can block. That's all good. As far as historical accuracy is concerned, no, that's not. You're doing a kind of just terrible thing if you try to do that in a real fight, So, dragging, that's the first inaccuracy, I would say. So up next, we have heavy attacks. I think that's what's up next, if we skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, so basically, these heavy attacks, right? So while you could do a heavier attack by just trying, you're basically, you're just putting more oomph into your swing. But as far as like, holding this back and charging up this attack, that's not something you're gonna do in real life, right? And with a sword specifically too, technique is oftentimes more important than power. Obviously, they go hand in hand, but as far as like what you see with tatami cutting and whatnot, if you're trying to cut through something, it's more important to try to keep the blade in line during that cut, so it's a solid cut and you're not like, shifting your blade in your hand or anything and screwing that up. And obviously having the power to continue the cut once it bites into the sheet, yes, that's important. But oftentimes, as far as cutting is concerned, the two kind of go hand in hand, and a heavier cut's not going to do more damage. Now, if we're fighting in armor, first off, the sword isn't the weapon you should be using, but it's a game, we'll let that fly. So, heavy attacks just kind of, they're not historically inaccurate, but they're not really the most accurate, I guess. And then, like, the special attack, right? Big old underhand. You're honestly, when you're doing that, you're showing to the enemy, hey, I'm going to attack. And that's actually something in the game. If you have a really quick weapon and they're charging up for a heavy attack, you can hit them with a quick attack, right? Or the special attack, and the big old one. It also allows you to dodge more easily if you want to. And so the only good thing if you want to try to do this like charge up is if you're feinting. So if you're pretending, hey, I'm gonna do a big old swing up here and then like do a quick underhand or something like that. And they do feinting really well. We'll see that later. That's what I really like. But we're focusing on attacks right now. Now kicking, that's obviously like the game mechanic's kind of fun because you can punish people who are just holding a block, and you can just kind of kick and slash them real quick. Pew, pew. That's all. I like that. That's all good. So yeah, I think let's move on. Getting around the block. This is really important. And I like how it's represented in this game. In HEMA and medieval combat, oftentimes you want to just charge at your opponent. That's something that we had an issue with our own personal HEMA group, was we would often just kind of go at each other, right? And what we should have been doing, and what we've been working on recently, I've had a shoulder injury, so I haven't been there in like a month, but what we had been working on since I hadn't been there was stepping offline and then getting around their kind of cone of steel per se, and then getting them from their side or whatever. And so this is represented really well, because if you're just statically blocking, like this guy is right here, and you can walk, and he might not be as fast in order to move, you can get around him and him from the back or him from the side. And that's really cool how they have the hitboxes set up, in which it matters where your sword is or where your shield is or whatever you're trying to block with. So yeah. Now we're going to move on to feints. I said this earlier. I think I said like we're focusing on attacks, but that's what feinting is, so never mind. But I really like how they represent feints in this game, in which it's not in like how Mordhau has it, in which it's trying to get them to click the block button and like just kind of like pretending you're going to attack. In this, it's more of a changing where you're attacking, right? And so, for example, what I've performed before is pretending that you are going up with like a Vomtog strike, so you're striking above, and then changing it to an underhand, and then you can kind of get them in like their underarm or their abdomen region. I once accidentally hit a dude in the nuts. That's why we wear cups. But feinting, I like how it's represented. So I want to quickly interrupt past modern talking with present modern. And so I want to show some HEMA footage when I'm talking about feinting, specifically when we're talking about like the overhand to underhand kind of cut. And so my instructor's on the left here, I'm on the right. I'm not that good in this footage because this was a while ago. So my instructor, as you see, goes up and then goes underneath, and I raise my arms in defense. And then when this happens, since my arms go up, he has that opening underneath, because a big thing with Myers kind of art of combat is you're attacking where your opponent was defending earlier, and you want to move his block into a different area and then hit him where he was once. And so if you split the body into 4 quadrants, you have like your uppers and then your lowers, upper right, upper left, lower right. The lower ones have your flug, your plow guard, which I was in at that point, and then your upper positions are like your ox or your tog, right? And so since I was in lower left flug, he raised my arms up into a right ox and then hit me back where I was once in like the lower left flug kind of area. And since he had my arms raising up, it was a lot more difficult then to bring them back down. So that's kind of the theory, and it works in practice, of the feint in HEMA. That's a A plus from me, right? Feinting, good job, boys. You did a good job with feints. I like how they represent them, of changing the direction of the attack, not so much just changing that you're attacking. Now, obviously, they have that. You can cancel the attack, but it's not really effective. The only thing it's effective for is trying to limit team damage. If you're going to swing, then they already killed the guy, and you're just going to hit your own player or your own teammate. You can cancel the attack, and it's all good. So, yeah, now we move on to defense. So when I first recorded this video, and I forgot to hit record, I kind of learned while talking, the defenses are almost identical. It just is like how good you are defending. Like the animations almost look the same. So first off, the blocking animation, at least for the messer, is just it's just atrocious. If you watch this, like, these look all right, but when I'm blocking, it looks like I am literally getting hit in the hands or like the hilt region. So watch this, right? I'll go ahead, hold my block. So just here, let me go back a little bit and pause when it hits it. Okay, here we go. So you can see this little charge of light here, and like that's right at the hilt. He's going at me with a big ol' axe. You don't want to be trying to block that swing right here, you know? Yeah, like it looks like it hits right in this region, which is basically just chopping off your hand at that point, you know? and overhead, it looks a bit better. And then the freaking the stab. So that's the other thing in this too. When you're attacking, you're trying to hit your opponent. You're not trying to hit the sword, right? Unless you're trying to like actively swat the sword out of like their cone of steel, or like, out of position so that you can get a quick, easy attack in. You're not trying to hit the sword, you're trying to hit the player. So if I have my sword raised up like this, don't hit the sword, hit my head, right? It just, yeah. So what I wish they had, instead of just like the static kind of animation, is you would have kind of like a stance animation, and once they attacked, your sword would like animate to show like, oh, it's actively like raising itself up to block or something like that. Granted, it's a game, I understand it doesn't have to be perfect, but just a little thing like that. So blocking, not its strongest suit in this. Dashing, as I mentioned earlier, getting offline and attacking. This is all pretty good. Especially if he's like doing this big old wind up and you can see, oh, he's attacking me. Okay, I'll get out of the way. I like that. I like that a lot. So ripostes. So attack immediately after successful block to perform a riposte. Right. This is great. Their animations not that good, but the like doing it, it's great, because what is, and you're doing in HEMA and whatnot, is you're using the momentum of their attack to carry you into your own attack. And so we'll use what he's doing. So here he's doing a slash. So this is kind of like a mid cut, or like a middle howl in Myers version. So, oh, no, that's an overhead. What? Oh, I'm doing the slash. Okay. My bad. So, he's performing an overcut here. And now, if this was in real life or historical, what would happen is he would do this mid-cut. Now, first off, I wouldn't meet the mid-cut here, because if I met it here, he would just have to push his blade a little bit forward, and it would go right in my noggin. That's not good. You would want your hands raised. Now, I think this is past the camera length, but crouch. You would want your hands raised up above your head. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you have it above your head, the blade is going to hit, and you want to hit more towards the end, because you want to glance off, use that momentum to carry you around into a cut. I'm not sure if you can see all my hand movements, depending on how the video looks. I'll have like actual either videos or photos, like in Myers Art of Combat manuscripts, to show like what that looks like. But you would not be doing how it looks in this game. Yeah. And then let's see, again, just the idea is good, right? Attacking quickly after they hit your blade to counter real fast, right? That's all good. Let me stab for extra measure there. Cutting the head off of a fully armored knight with a messer isn't the most accurate, but we'll talk about that when we talk about armor in a different video. So, counters, right? Oh, sorry. Attacking from a block enables a short counter window that will deflect incoming strikes of the same type. Counters act as a perfect parry and avoid the stamina loss and knockback effects. So this is great, a gameplay mechanic, wonderful. The way they describe it does not sound like what I would like. This is basically what a riposte looks like in the animation if you watch. So like, watch. I'm going to hold my block, and then I'm going to attack before his attack reaches me. And so what it looks like there, my blade is obviously moving. However, that's just what a block would look like, because you're not just statically blocking. You want to intercept their blade before it comes like into you, right? So for me, right, you move your blade, and you can do the glance off blow, and then you use that momentum to cut. the way they talk about it, as far as you're clicking your mouse, right? You hold your block and then you attack before a block or before they hit you. Is basically you're actively hitting their blade away so that then you could attack. And there's specific terms which I'm forgetting right now, but one of them I like to call the windshield, in which if they're like in long point or they're trying to stab you, you can do like a windshield motion with your blade to swat their blade away, and then do a quick counter cut. And then obviously, like, you could do kind of the same thing if they're coming in for a cut. You can kind of like meet theirs, quick twist and turn, and then lock their blade between your quillions, or like your hilt and your blade, and then go in for a thrust. And then same thing with a stab. If they're coming in with a stab, this is more like a riposte in my opinion, but kind of pushing, I guess is also a counter in the sense, pushing their blade aside, locking their blade in, doing that twist motion, and then thrusting into them while their blade is locked. So as far as like clicking your mouse goes, A-okay. The animations though, they don't look like what I would think is happening, right? They just look like normal ripostes almost. Like you're just raising your blade up and then hitting them. You're letting the blade, glance off. Their stab one isn't the best. Their stab one would be better if it's, kind of like locking or, pushing with the blade against one another. Mordhau does a bit better with that. I forget what the term is called, but basically it's like if you match their attack, you kind of like hit their blade away, then follow with your own attack. But that's just the difference between the two games. Mordhau has some gameplay elements I like better, but in general I like Chivalry 2 as far as like game mechanics go, because it's a lot more casual. It feels a lot more fun. I don't know. That's my opinion, but I'm also not the best at the game. So take that with a grain of salt. Moving ahead, I think, because this was defense. Yeah, I'm just running around. All right, cool. Learning your reach. I do like this. I think I failed the first time, but this is important both in real life and in the game, of figuring out the length of your weapon, and then how far away you need to be from them in order to hit them, but then also be able to block whatever they're going to throw at you, or be able to get out of range of them. And that's really important, keeping a good distance between you, because you don't want to be just like waving your blade in the air when you're attacking. You want to try to hit them, right? And so you need to be in a proper length in order to hit them. So I like how they have that represented here, of distance and timing. I enjoy that. That's good. It's some good stuff, sure, too. Now this is a bit different. They call it recovering from interrupts. It's kind of like grappling a little bit, such as the jab, which I like. Now in HEMA, so I'll play the jab for you. You get hit, and then you jab him to try to stop him from hitting you. What we do is like the pommel strikes, kind of. And because a pommel is kind of like a mace at that point, because it's pretty, I mean, like the sword isn't heavy, but it's like a solid metal thing at the end, and so it can have some heft to it. And even if they are wearing the helmet and the mask, like hitting them with that pommel can do some serious damage if you apply enough force. So we yell out pommel, and we don't actually hit them, but like it counts as a strike.
Ready? Go. Ah,
So I like how they have it represented in this game of just like a quick jab, although in real life, if you like did a Mordhau grip in which you like grab the blade, that's actually like a special attack with a longsword weapon variant, which I'll show here. If you're doing that, that can do some serious damage to a metal covered knight or whatever. But as far as like if you're doing unarmored combat or whatever, we're not doing Mordhau strikes. But as far as pommel strikes go, those are good. And then with grappling and whatnot, because it might be hard to use the full thing, we do use pommel strikes. Grappling in general is just really cool. It's not really shown in these types of games, which is understandable. There are some stuff like you can tackle with the knight class, and I think with the footman class you can tackle as well. And that's, I mean, if you're fighting a knight, that is really how to kill them. tackling them, because in armor you're not going to slash through their armor, right? So getting them on the ground and then jumping on them, like trying to, unsheath your dagger and hit them with the eyes through the eye slits or the gaps in the armor. That's the way you're going to kill a knight, right? But in this game, you can just slice right through the armor like it's butter. So that doesn't really matter. But it's cool that they have like a tactical animation. They got a jab animation here. And then just dashing out away and whatnot. And then special items, just throwing your fire pot. So moving on, we get a bit into throwing projectiles. Really fun in the game. You can like throw literally anything. You can like light a chicken on fire and throw it at the enemy and light them on fire. However, it also just allows you to throw your primary weapon away. I mean, you can like throw your pole hammer as like a javelin, basically, which would be very difficult to do because it's front heavy as. But like, it's a game. We might be superhuman. Who knows? Now, I wouldn't call throwing your primary weapon inaccurate or unhistorical. Fiore, who is I think he was Italian. It was an Italian knight. He's one of the earlier manuscripts. He has images and talks about throwing the longsword, and kind of like what you do is you grab it by the quillions, almost like this. You hold the hilt, and the quillions are kind of like you like underhand throw it almost. Skallagrim has a video showing that off. And, like, it could work, but it's a very last-ditch effort thing, and it's very easy to you could just swat the blade away. It's not powerful, right? It's not like the quick throw, hard throw you see used in this game. So while I wouldn't say, like, people never did it, and that's inhistoric, it's also not, like, something that was done regularly, So we'll call that like a B. I don't know, as far as the historical scale goes. Role-playing, I like this. I like that you can use emotes in this game. It makes it fun and goofy at times whenever you're just killing everybody in bloody combat, right? It's good to have a laugh every now and then. So, moving on, we go into like 1v2s and like 1vx's, and that's a big part of this game of like fighting multiple opponents at once and just feeling like an absolute god, right? Lots of fun, very difficult in real life, right? You're not going to have them attacking you one after another and it being like really easy to block their strikes and counterattack and all this. Blood and Iron did a video. I think it's like one of the most popular ones. I'll probably run a clip showing like two men fighting one dude. And it was very difficult for the one guy to win. Like, he only won, I think, like, a couple times. Like, it wasn't... I mean, it was obviously not that many. He didn't win that many times. Because you're not having this where it's like, oh, one guy attacks and then the other guy attacks. Or, if we skip ahead, you attack the one guy and, like, he blocks. Yeah, he blocks, then this guy attacks you and you block him. It'd be more like, oh, you attack him, he blocks you, right? Because you're going to have multiple people attacking you at once. So, it's a lot more difficult to fight in 1vx scenarios in real life, obviously, than it is in this game. However, as far as gameplay goes, it's hella fun to try to win these big old battles in which you're down by like 3 people and you somehow come out on top. So, A-okay for a game. I understand it. And I wouldn't call it historically inaccurate too, because there's legends and stories of like people fighting outnumbered and absolutely destroying. There's a saga, I think, which has been historically like covered in other text than just the saga, so it's not like it's inaccurate. It might be a bit like embellished, but it happened of this one Viking holding this bridge and just like destroying and getting so like just killing so many like Englishmen who are coming up and trying to take the bridge from him, and just a big old Dane axe and just hacking and slashing and going at it and winning these 1vx's in real life, right? I think he ended up dying from an archer or like a thrown projectile. Darn archers, right? But they did happen in history, so it's not historically inaccurate, right? And so yeah, then you could see me duel my opponent's 1v2 style. I don't know why it's going in slow-mo here. Yeah. Whinge a little bit. And then, yeah, so just fighting them 1v2. You know, there's not much here to cover. Basically, it could be, it could happen, but it's a lot more difficult than it is in the game, obviously. So yeah, I think that's the end of the tutorial. Then I go up. I chose the Gathian Knights because of honor. In reality, blue's my favorite color, so I chose the Agatha. And plays a cool intro, and then we end up going into the battle scene. But yeah, I wanted to get this video out before Wednesday, or it might come out on Wednesday, because I have a trip coming up, and I'll be gone for roughly 2 weeks, and so I wanted to get this video out 2 weeks ago, but then I had a bunch of just stuff going on. I wasn't able to get to it, so I wanted to get this out before the trip. I plan to release a video covering the armor, and then also covering the weapons. But as far as gameplay is concerned, I think I covered most of it, besides archery, obviously, because I would never touch archers, right? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and my ramblings a little bit. If you did, and if you feel so inclined, please hit that like button. It helps a lot, and even better if you decide to subscribe. You can always leave later if you want to, but it only takes a second. I appreciate any feedback. Obviously, I call myself the modern historian, but I do know I'm not certified. I just really enjoy history. I want to show it in a more modern viewpoint using either video games like Chivalry 2, Bannerlord, Mord Hal, those kind of historical-esque games. But obviously, if you noticed an inaccuracy in my video, please let me know, and I'll correct it in the next one. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around. Hopefully, I'll see you around for the next video. Bye-bye.